Welcome to my first video. Today I'm going to show you how to solve one of the most basic problems in algebra. I'm going to show you the steps to solve the problem, and I'm also going to show you why the steps work the way that they do. Let's say we have a problem that looks like this. X plus 4 is equal to 7. Now what is this problem asking us? This problem is saying that some number plus 4 is equal to 7. So X stands for a missing number, and we need to find out what number that missing number is. You've probably seen a problem like this before, where you have a blank, and the problem might say blank plus 4 is equal to 7. And they're asking you to fill in the blank with the missing number. And we know in this problem that the missing number is 3, because 3 plus 4 is equal to 7. The problem at the top that says x plus 4 is equal to 7 is really asking you the same thing. It's just instead of a blank, we have a letter that's standing for the missing number, and we have to fill in the missing number. It's sort of like what number is behind door number 1. And we know that the missing number in this problem is 3, because 3 plus 4 is equal to 7. So we know that x stands for 3, or x is 3. And we just solve this problem just by looking at the problem and knowing that x has to be 3. But sometimes it'll be harder to find the answer just by looking at the problem. So we need a series of steps we can go through to reach the answer. And I'll show you those steps. But first I'm going to explain the rule that we're going to need to use that will help us to solve this problem. And I'll explain that rule by using what we have here. 3 plus 4 is equal to 7. The equal sign right here means that the total amount on the left side is the same as the total amount on the right side. And that's true in this problem because 3 plus 4 is 7. So the total amount that we have on the left side is 7. And we also have 7 on the right side. 7 is the total amount on the right side because 7 is the only number that we have on the right side. So it's true that the total amount on the left is the same as the total amount on the right. So what if for a second, instead of writing 3 plus 4 on the left side, we changed it to 7, just to show the total amount. And then what if we wrote 7 equals 7? This is just showing that the total amount on the left is the same as the total amount on the right. And the question that I want to ask you is, if we subtract the same number from both sides of the problem, will we still have the same amount on both sides when we're finished? Well, let's try it to see what happens. Let's try subtracting 4 from both sides. 7 minus 4 is equal to 3, and on the right side, 7 minus 4 is equal to 3. So we started out with the same amount on both sides, and we subtracted the same number from both sides, and when we finished, we still have the same number on both sides because 3 is equal to 3. We still have the same total amount on both sides. And this rule, where if you start out with the same amount on both sides and you subtract the same amount from both sides and you still end up with the same amount on both sides when you're finished, this rule that has to do with this is what we're going to use to solve the problem. And before I actually show you the steps to solve the problem, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this rule that has to do with subtracting on both sides. And I think when I explain about this rule a little bit more, it'll help make the steps to the problem seem, it'll help you understand the steps to the problem even better. Let's go back to where we have 3 plus 4 is equal to 7. What if we decide to subtract a number from just one of these two numbers on the left side? What if we decide to subtract 4 from the 4 right here? We know that this 4 up here is positive because you have this plus sign, or the addition sign, in front of the 4, and that, in algebra, that tells us that it's a positive 4. And so we have 4, positive 4, minus 4, and that equals 0. And what we've just done is we've actually subtracted 4 from the total amount of 7 on the left side. And how do we know that that's true? Well, when you subtract 4 minus 4, and you get 0, 0 is nothing. It's a 0 amount, so it just disappears. And the only amount that we have left on the left side is 3. 3 is now our total amount on the left side. So we've taken away 4 from the total amount of 7, and now our total amount on the left side is just 3. But now the total amount on the left side is different from the total amount on the right side because the left side is 3 and the right side is 7. And the reason that the total amounts are different is because we've subtracted something on the left side. We haven't subtracted anything from the right side yet. So if we follow our rule, we have to subtract the same number from the right side. We have to do 7 minus 4, and we get 3. And now, since we've subtracted the same number from both sides of the problem, we still have the same total amount on both sides. It's just instead of having 7 on the left and 7 on the right, we have 3 on the left and 3 on the right. And now let's use this rule to actually solve the problem. We know that in this problem, where it says x plus 4 is equal to 7, we know that the equal sign is telling us that the total amount on the left is the same as the total amount on the right. And the total amount on the right is 7 because that's the only number on the right side. That means that we know that the total amount that x plus 4 equals on the left side is 7. So if we subtracted 4 from the left side and 4 from the right side, we would still have the same total amount on both sides. And how do we find out what x equals? Well, if we make it so that x is alone on the left side, and x stands for the total amount of the left side, and we only have one number on the right side, then we'll know that the amount that x equals on the left is the same as the number that we have on the right. And so how do we get to that point? Well, in order to make x alone on the left side, let's subtract 4 from 4, since we know that gives us 0. And when you get a 0 amount, it just disappears because it cancels out. And in order to make sure that we still have the same total amount on both sides, we have to subtract 4 from 7 on the right side too. And 7 minus 4 is equal to 3. Now, the the only amount we have on the left side is just x, and the only amount we have left on the right side is 3. We have x is equal to 3. And we know that the total amount on the left is the same as the total amount on the right because we subtracted the same amount from both sides. And if the total amount is the same on both sides, and the total amount on the right side is 3, we know the total amount on the left side also has to be 3, which means that this x amount on the left side is 3, which means that the missing number that x stands for is 3. And we've solved the problem because we found our missing number. And when people write the answer, they usually don't just write x is 3. They write x is equal to 3, which just means that the missing number that x stands for is 3. And now I've just finished the steps of this problem. The only steps we have to solve this problem is subtracting 4 from both sides of the problem. And then after you do that step, you find out that x is 3. And I also explained the rule that makes it possible to solve this problem. And I hope this helps you understand this type of problem better. In my next video, I'll show you a problem that's almost the same as this one, except instead of having x plus 4 on the left side, we'll have x minus 4 on the left side. We'll have x minus 4 equals 7. And thank you for watching.